we're going to head over to an interesting matchup that maybe y'all did not think we were going to preview. But Washington State is traveling on the road to James Madison. All right. James Madison, 13.5 point favorites in this one at home. Okay. You're looking at this. You maybe even pull up your stats. You may be looking at it and you're like, wow, Washington State's offense is absolutely horrendous. James Madison, oh, they've scored 50 points in 3 of their last 4 games. Like, they're absolutely rolling. All right. I get that. But can we just admit for just a second that Washington State has been a real problem for teams this season? Like a real problem. They haven't won every game. In fact, they've lost a plethora of one possession games, and some in very heartbreaking fashion. They have been a problem nonetheless. And this is a James Madison team that is pushing for the playoffs right now. I think if they lose this game, there's a lot more urgency and a lot more help that they're going to need from other teams in the American Conference, in the Mountain West, in order to get their playoff bid for the college football playoffs.
Yeah, this is a fun one here. Obviously, doesn't have any conference implications because this is not a conference game. But it does. I think you talk about playoff implications for James Madison. You got coaching carousel stuff going on, Bob Chesney. And let's give some love to Jimmy Rogers, man. What he has done, took over a tough situation, is stringing together the best he can, right? With the Cougars and what they're doing out there. A win away from bowl eligibility, that would be big time there. And what a signature win this would be, I think, for him as he's starting to build that program. This will be interesting. I think if you look at the national ranks, of Washington State offensively, it's not good. They're in the 100, 110s, 120s, and a lot of different metrics. But if you go towards a little bit more of like their advanced metrics, you're seeing them a tick higher there. And I think it's because, of what you've seen at the quarterback position recently, with Ekos getting in there, and getting a little bit better quarterback play from the Cougars. And on the other side there, James Madison, man, they're really freaking good. They get after folks. Of course, you've got Barnett. Of course, you've got a couple different running backs. Defensively, they get after the quarterback. They're on 26 sacks. They got 10 interceptions. A lot of good things there. Defensively, metrics that you like to see. And of course, in a weaker Sun Belt, admittedly, we love the Fun Belt. We absolutely adore the Fun Belt. But they have played some of the worst teams in the Sun Belt. They have played in a weaker division in the Sun Belt, but they've handled business and they've taken care of business. They also had a chance to go on the road and beat Louisville all the way back in September. So they're trying to build that resume there with Washington State, late in November here. I think this is a statement spot here for James Madison at home. 13.5. You have to get it done. Give me the Dukes.
I think the Dukes win. All right. I think they find a way to win. I will be taking Washington State to cover in this one. CD, look, James Madison, all right, I know they've done it on the ground countless times this year. They've just plowed through everyone, okay? I wouldn't call their run defense of Washington State their ultra strength of this defense. But what if I point something out to you, CD? What if I told you that James Madison has only played one top 40 opponent in adjusted defense this year and only scored 14 points on them?
And that's Louisville.
That was Louisville. What if I told you that Washington State is a top 40 opponent adjusted defense this year?
I would believe that.
And honestly, quite frankly, Jake Dickert, defensive guy when he was there, and he did a great job. And you had one of your better defenses that you've seen at Washington State. I forget if it was, I think it was 2024. No, maybe it was 2022.
It was the year,
one of your better
first
defenses.
Year Cam Ward, yeah.
Yeah, first year Cam Ward. You had one of your better defenses that you've seen at Washington State in a long time. This defense right now, in my opinion, is significantly better than that. And you don't even have, you do have some really nice football players on this team. But you just have a team playing in unison. You got a lot of guys that were playing, for Jimmy Rogers last year. Like, you just have a lot of continuity and unison and an understanding of their job and what they got to do. They gave Ole Miss problems, and Ole Miss was at home. They gave Virginia problems. They gave Toledo problems, right? Uh, Now there were some explosive plays, explosive teams early in the season. North Texas, Washington, all right, obviously put up some points, but since September 27th, I mean, Washington State gave up 3 points to Colorado State, 24 to Ole Miss, 22 to Virginia, 7 to Toledo, 10 to Oregon State in a loss, unfortunately, and 3 to Louisiana Tech. I mean, they are playing really good defense right now. So what happens, right? If all of a sudden James Madison has a pretty decent defense, right? What happens if James Madison only scores 21 points, right? That's probably enough to get you a win, but I think there's a situation where Washington State makes it interesting like that. Is that crazy to say?
I don't think at all. I mean, if you look at, and say what you want about FPI, but this would be the James Madison's second best FPI win, in of the season, which is crazy. Also, too, I do want to bring up a little bit of factoid here. There is some coaching history between Bob Chesney and Jimmy Rogers. Of course, a couple of notable FCS head coaches. Jimmy Rogers, of course, at South Dakota State. Bob Chesney from Holy Cross. They played each other just a couple years ago, right? South Dakota State was the number 1 seed. Holy Cross was the 8th seed, I believe. South Dakota State did win 42-21. The quarterback for Holy Cross was Matthew Sluka, who's the backup now at James Madison. Little fun things there. South Dakota State's quarterback, Mark Gronowski, starting quarterback at Iowa. Just thought I'd throw that in there. It was Jimmy Rogers' defense at South Dakota State that really did shut down Holy Cross, and put up some good numbers there. So just thought I'd throw it out there. A little fun, for us in college football, because it is the drama. We love it. There's so much stuff going on. These are two hell of a coaches too.